evening. Hello, how are we all doing? That's another weekend of sport out the way, another weekend near to the World Cup, and welcome along on to our Halloween special. Well, I say Halloween special. There was a few horror performances at the weekend, wasn't there? And tonight's show, it's coming live from Derby. Yes, I've got a live stream coming from Derby. Now, it's difficult tonight to tell whether everybody's dressed up or it's just how they always look for Halloween in Derby. You never know. This is Leicester LTID TV. It is the Premier League
It's
review.
time! Strap yourself in, because we're set up, switched on, and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
Oh, right there. You know, I love a joke like that. All you got to do is sort of take out Derby County. You could put any team you want in there, couldn't you? Was he not joining me tonight? We might have had Nottingham in there. Dave, welcome back, mate. How are you doing?
I'm feeling good, actually, Chris, in myself. But obviously, yesterday was quite a traumatic experience, as you can well imagine.
Well, we've been there this season, so we feel your pain. We're still clinging on to each other at the bottom there, aren't we?
We are, mate. Yeah, we are.
I
think it's just a matter of, you know, for yourself, Chris, and for us and some of the others to be not adrift by the time, you know, the stuff in Qatar gets going, really.
Yes, and I think it's such a weird weekend, and I don't say that just as I'm about to bring James in, because of course I'm not sorry at all. Good evening, Everton. A bit better than last season. Are you happy with the way things are?
Yeah, slightly, yeah. I mean, defensively we look better, but it's a lack of goals is a worry. But, yeah, so far, not too bad.
Well, let's have a look at what happened last week, because it was a bit of an interesting week, shall we say. And here we go. I mean, managers. That just in October, that is how many managers have gone. Gerrard obviously was the last one, but Roby at Newport, McSheffrey, Doncaster, Steve Bruce, probably no surprise there at Steve Bruce. Everybody on the left is thinking, thank God we've got somebody and it's not going to be Steve Bruce. But it has been a weird... We've gone through managers, and that's just 38 managers, Dave, in the top 4 divisions that have sacked the manager.
I know it's bonkers, and for a while, our very own much beloved Steve was kind of, you know, touted to be joining that list, but as it is now, he signed his contract, and on we go. I wouldn't say for a minute his position is bomb-proof, because probably with the exception of Pep and Klopp at Liverpool, you know, I would say, you know, they're about the only guys who are probably safe in their seats at the moment, I would say. But nobody else, you could not say that about anybody else.
No, No. And James, I mean, there's three of us here, like Dave said. Steve Cooper was touted as being one of the favourites. So Brendan, let's be honest with you, he was like even to be the first. Frank's always being quoted as going, and yet here we are all still sat here with our managers.
Yeah.
It's just a funny, as I say, funny old game. I mean, at the start of the season, I mean, Cooper and Lampard in particular, because with Forest just come up, and then Everton, how many managers we've been through, that's no surprise. But Rodgers, we didn't expect to be one of the favourites to go. But yeah, three of them are still there. So manager, as I said to you last week, managers, they just don't get that time anymore unless you're Klopp or Guardiola. Managers are good. You're three game. You're 3 wins away from doing well, or you're 3 defeats away from getting the sack.
Yeah,
very true.
And I mean, I expected there to be a lot this season, but it to all come during the World Cup break. So I thought that's when, they would look at it and go, right, we've got 4 weeks off now. We can get rid of it. They've sort of acted now, haven't they?
Yeah, I think that World Cup period is going to be like a stock taking, a taking stock exercise for all the clubs. I guess they'll all look and think to themselves, it's kind of like we're getting 2 seasons for the price of one. We've got this 15-game season, and then we're going to come back and we're going to get a 23-game season. And I think it just makes. I think owners will they'll probably do some kind of audit of their clubs to decide whether they want to keep their manager or not. I mean, with regards to us, I mean, Steve looked like certainly after the Leicester defeat, Steve was in a very precarious position at the end of that week. Forest did this sort of perverse.
Well, I mean, fair plays to them for sticking by him, but
but at the same time, Chris, I heard that Mr. Marinakis. I don't know if he left or if he walked out of the Emirates yesterday when Forest were 3-0 down. Now, if he may have had a business meeting. When you're a billionaire shipping magnate, you probably have a lot of business meetings. He may have left in, disgust at what he was seeing. So we just don't know. But it's just very difficult to tell.
James, you saw.
He's on pause.
Hello, are you back with us, James?
Yeah, you just froze for a sec. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we all froze there. But like I say, you sign a contract on Monday, you're at the club on Friday. They don't really mean anything, do they?
No, it doesn't. No, the amount of money that gets wasted on bringing them in and then having to sack them off for like compensations or whatever. It's just money being wasted all over the place.
Totally agree.
Sorry, I don't mean to talk over you, but I think because we keep freezing on each other, I keep thinking you've stopped talking. So apologies for that. A very, very important question. And Terry, we know this is the subject that is closest to his heart. Is the Cricketers pub still open in Nottingham?
Let me put it like this, lads. I am the worst person to ask because I'm a really boring, self-righteous teetotaler. So I'm not a pints drinker or a pub goer. So that I reckon there are thousands of Forest fans who'll be able to give you an answer, and sadly, I'm not one of them.
We're having a bit of fun with the old Leeds.
It's because you're in Derby.
Possibly. I know this will probably mean a little bit more of fun for me and Dave, but Coventry undergo transfer embargo until the taxes are paid. I don't know how close Forest. I mean, we've been out of business. We nearly went out of business a second time. I don't know if Forest have been close to that at all. I've never read anything.
I think, Chris, we may have got to sort of acquaintances terms with it under Fawaz, who was our previous owner before Evangelos Marinakis. But I don't think we haven't had the sort of crisis that, Leeds in the past and obviously most recently the lockdown the A52 have had. But this Coventry one, it's obviously a complicated issue with ground ownership. Obviously, Wasps have gone. I believe. I know they've been relegated and suspended from the Rugby Premiership.
Yeah.
I don't profess to know the ins and outs of it, but I just think, and actually, taking Coventry as a football team, I think it'd be quite sad because I saw Coventry a couple of times last year home and away, and I thought they were a really good bunch. Mark Robbins has got them playing good football. I know they're near the bottom, and that's because they've not been able to play games. But Coventry have got a really nice attitude. They have a really nice approach to playing, and I think if they're going to be unable to sign players to what is already a pretty young squad, a pretty inexperienced squad, then it's going to make things very difficult for them. And I have nothing but sympathy for them. I think they're, as a football team, I like them a lot. I think, they're if anybody who watches them as a neutral will find them admirable. They want to score goals. They want to go forward. They've got Gyökeres is an excellent player. Matty Godden is good. Callum O'Hare was one of the most coveted players in the Championship last year. I would have loved him at Forest. They've got some real good lads there, and it'd be a shame if this off the field stuff were to sort of divert Mark Robbins, who's an excellent manager, and his team from what they're trying to do.
Mark Robbins, obviously ex-Leicester player. We had him with us for a while. I mean, for me, Coventry is more of a, that's my number one rival, if you like.
Right.
There's always this is it Leicester, is it Forest, is it Derby? For me, it's always been Coventry. We're all in the East Midlands, but I would hate to see them go. And James, we've got to all give our thanks out that this guy was so lucky. Mari, I mean, included in that stabbing. He's out for 2 months. I think it always, when I see something like this, I always think, God, that could have been one of ours.
I know, yeah. But first of all, I'd just like to say I wish him a full recovery after what's happened, obviously. And I was horrified when I saw that news, absolutely horrified. Like you say, it happen to anyone. It could happen to anyone out there. And it's just an unfortunate incident that's just happened. And unfortunately, he's been involved. And and I knew it was, obviously we knew it happened on Sunday, but nice tribute Arsenal gave to him before and during the game.
Yeah.
It's obviously, the fact he's not really a regular there, it just shows that how people come on something like this.
Yeah. If I could just come in, I mean, actually, looking back now to 24 hours ago, I just wonder if Mikel Arteta had his lads in the Arsenal dressing room and said, let's go and do it for Pablo Mari. And I think it may have helped and focused Arsenal to what they did against us. You know what I mean? So I tell you what, if they wanted to pay a tribute to their teammate, they went about it the right way. They were excellent, Arsenal.
Yeah,
really good.
Definitely,
football.
Yeah. I think what worries me is we seem to be, I mean, all right, this was off the pitch. You don't even know. I don't know the full story. I don't even know if it was football related. But we're seeing so much of like the Man City bus being attacked at Liverpool. I'm not picking on Liverpool here, but the fans rushing onto the pitch at the end of games and having to go at managers and players. Well, for Palace at Everton, it just seems that this is coming more slowly creeping back into the game. And us as fans, we're trying to get safe standing areas back. Now, I know safe standing is not the cause of everything that's gone on. We know that. But, that was one of the probably after it all went really bad, that was the decision that was taken. We'd all go to seating, and it did seem to make a difference. But we just seem to be, as fans, and I know every club's got idiots, we just seem to be kicking ourselves in the foot a lot.
Yeah, I think, sadly, when you get large groups of human beings together, you're going to get, sadly, a minority that just don't conform to standards of respect and decency towards others. I mean, I've been to every Forest game this year. So I've been to Newcastle, Everton, Manchester City, Arsenal, Leicester, and Wolves. I think are our 6 away games. Brighton, chuck Brighton in as well. So we play 7 away games. Every ground I've gone to, I've just felt completely safe. We've met supporters of home clubs. So I've met, Geordies, Evertonians, Brightonians, City people, Gooners, all sorts. And they've all been, really, really welcoming hosts. I mean, the first day of the season at Newcastle, we were walking down towards St James's Park with our red on. And we had Geordies in black and white striped shirts coming up and sort of shaking hands, saying how great it is to have Nottingham Forest back in the Premier League. And then we went to I went to Goodison, and the stewards and the coppers in Goodison were absolutely brilliant. In fact, they were very, very funny. We had a good sing song at Goodison in our little corner of the ground, and everybody who looked after us at Everton. And if you want to pass the message back, James. Everybody was great to us. I didn't see any trouble anywhere. And to be honest, I'll say the same about everywhere. I mean, I did go to somewhere last year in the Championship, and I won't name the club's name. People who know me will know who it is, but I'm not going to name names on here. I'm not about that. And we were treated as a hostile invading force, which I found deeply offensive. We'd gone there to watch a football match. We had not gone there to cause property damage. We had not gone there to cause other people injuries. We go for our football team. We go because we love our team. And we go, I feel if I go to an away game as a Nottingham Forest supporter, I am, if you like, a representative, almost an ambassador of the club I love. And I want people to meet me, whoever they are, whoever they support, and think, yep, Nottingham Forest people are decent people. You know what I mean?
I won't go that far. We're on limits. Come on. We're on limits, mate. That line in the sand.
Yeah, can I just say, actually, Chris, now I think of it, Leicester might have been the place where we got the least welcome, but that's understandable,
No, I can understand. And I am very embarrassed by the Leicester fans when we played you in the FA Cup and what happened there. Yeah. But we shouldn't we, James? You should be able to go to these matches, sing songs at each other that aren't sick, aren't nasty, but banter, and then all go home after. I as a Leicester fan, like I say, I live in Poole and I park in Bournemouth. I couldn't go this year, couldn't get a ticket, but when I've gone in the past, I've always parked in the middle of all the of all the Bournemouth fans. I've all my Leicester top on. There's never been any trouble, and that's how it should be. If they've won, they've deserved it. If we've won, we've deserved, But I mean, I always look at Liverpool and think that the relationship between Everton and Liverpool fans is something quite unique.
Well, that's mainly because families, especially like a mother and father, one supports Everton, the other supports Liverpool, and the kids are brought up supporting whoever. That's always been that way. And you used to have fans families sitting with each other, either they're in blue shirts in the Cop or red shirts in part of Goodison. So, but it's not as much now because it's gone more hostile. But yeah, anyone should be feeling more safe and to go to a football match. I mean, I've been to a few away games before, and I've hardly seen many trouble apart from Sunderland. A couple of years ago. But it wasn't anything major, it was just some idiots, but that was about it.
I must admit, I would not have started taking my boys, and I mean, they're 25 now, so if you go back sort of 20 years to how it was, I would not have taken my boys to games had it been like the old style and not the new. The problem you've got these days is you've no idea, and as much as I don't like Grealish, can't stand the guy, his wife must be so happy because he goes down more often than any other man I know. But that Birmingham fan that got on, or the Nottingham, I think the Leicester fan that got on at Nottingham as well, you don't know what they've got in their pockets. And the stewards are powerless, really.
Yeah, they are.
They can just as easily be stabbed. It is scary. It really is.
Just for the sake of balance, Chris, as well. I mean, obviously, what happened with the guy who ran out of the Bridgeford end last year, and he was a brave lad in some regards because he had a whack at Keenan Davis, and Keenan's a rather large unit. And then he had a pop at Brennan Johnson, and obviously the Johnson family. David follows Brennan everywhere. He was in the stand, So he was a brave lad in that he picked his side. He didn't go for Joe Worrell or Scott McKenna, I did know. But the thing is, that was kind of, without being awful, that was embarrassing for Leicester City, but then equally embarrassing for Nottingham Forest was when poor old Billy Sharp, who was doing nothing to intimidate or antagonise anybody, was headbutted after our semi-final playoff second leg at the City Ground. Deeply embarrassing. And thankfully, the courts dealt with that. I won't call him a human being. I'll call him an idiot. Dealt with him very, very quickly. So, we have to be careful about putting ourselves on pedestals and taking the moral high ground. And, as I say, the moral high ground for me and for Nottingham Forest is really important. I don't want, when James and Everton come to us later in the season, I don't want anybody from Nottingham Forest to have done or said anything that gives Everton any kind of motivation. Similarly, I don't want Leicester to come thinking, right, we've got a cause to beat Forest now. Now, it has happened this season. We played Wolves in probably the most boring match of the entire football season, whatever league, a couple of weeks ago at Molineux. And prior to that game, the Forest publicity or press department, for some unknown reason, decided to post a tweet with Emmanuel Dennis with some Wolf Cubs and said playtime, which we were all deeply embarrassed about. Now, I've run teams in the past, and I don't want my opponent to have anything that gives him an edge over us. I don't want him to have anything where that guy, that day, Steve Davis, the guy in charge of Wolves at the moment, he could have pinned it up on the wall and said, lads, that's what Forest think of you. Go and teach them a lesson.
We did that with Arsenal when they celebrated beating us in the league. We
absolutely,
went on
I remember it, yeah.
The worst thing we ever did was when we beat Southampton 9-0, just before the teams came out for the return leg in the same season at the King Power. We played it on the big screens. It was like all the no. But anyway, let's talk. Well, I was going to say let's talk something happy, but it isn't for us. But first game of the weekend, James. I'll come to you first. Don't know if you saw it at all, but Leicester, we could have gone for it more, but I think Man City, they're not the sort of team you can go toe-to-toe for 90 minutes.
No, you can't. If you go toe-to-toe with them, they'll put 6s or 7s past you. But I thought you battled hard. You're putting a battling performance in. It was just, City in the, City, they're just too quality. I mean, that goal from De Bruyne.
Oh.
No keeper's saving that. No matter what level you're at, no keeper's saving that one. But so there were some positives you can take out of. You were more solid. You didn't give City many clear-cut chances. I know they were missing Haaland, but they've still got the quality to put any team away. But
they have. When you look, you say Grealish, De Bruyne. I mean, they've got a fair few big names there.
And they do, yeah.
Yeah, I was pleased, Dave, that we were restricting them to long-term efforts. I mean, they had 15 odd shots on goal, but only 5 of those actually were on target. Ward produced the worldie. We could have got, Tielemans could have just as easily, that could have gone in as was, but it was a good save. And I was worried, having had the bit of a peak, not say peak, but a bit of a resurgence that we'd had. Fucking hell, it's Manchester City here, and you thinking we're going to get beaten. But we didn't. We can come out of that as much as you can out of a loss and go, well, we'll take that.
Yeah, well, we came out of our dinner date with Manchester City having been eaten to the tune of 6-0. So
I wasn't going to mention that, but
what I do, Chris, I take out the weapons and aim them at myself, mate. So the way I looked at Leicester, I kind of, the thing is, what City are, to me, City are the best football team on the planet. They certainly were against us that night. That night at the Etihad for us, I donned my, look, I love football hat. Yeah, I love Forest, but I love football. And that night, I just felt I was honoured to have watched a great team go about its business. They were wonderful. So what City do, they kind of wander around this league as everybody's reality check. Now, for me, Leicester, I would have had. I actually thought that Leicester, having come out of what they did against Wolves and what they did to Leeds, might get stuck in City's throat a bit. that seemed. I know Danny Ward made some good saves, and I've been on another podcast with a Leicester guy who's like very anti Danny Ward, and we sort of rib him about Danny's abilities and whatever. But I thought Danny Ward had a decent game, and Leicester made it. I wouldn't say they made it uncomfortable for City, but I think they made City think a little bit more than a lot of pundits might have given them credit for. So I think, like you say, if I was a Leicester fan watching, and I didn't see the whole game, I have to say, I watched the highlights of match today. If I was a Leicester fan, I'd come out thinking, well, yeah, we lost, but we were relatively respectable.
We were very respectable, and before that game, I think we were equal third in the clean sheet. So how much of a joke actually is Danny Ward? We've got to settle. Faze has made all the difference coming into the defence. He settled it down. But anyway, we say 1-0. If you'd given me that at the start with that performance, I probably would have bitten your hand off. Yeah. James, I mean, if one team's going to get the lucky tag this season, they won't claim it's them, but Tottenham Hotspur, fair dues to them though. 2-0 down, they came back.
Well, they were chasing the game. They had to respond. Now they got to give Bournemouth a bit of credit for how they played, but Spurs just kept piling on the pressure, and they managed to nick the win in the end. So it was a good game. It was a good game to watch. It was just Bournemouth. Bournemouth, I thought, just gave Tottenham a little bit too much respect late on. I mean, Spurs were chasing it, obviously, but I think that's the Conte effect. Obviously, they have to literally keep pushing, but they got the win in the end, and they had to win because they haven't been anywhere near good enough in recent weeks.
No. Bournemouth bubble burst a bit, do you think, Dave? I mean, they've not given them the caretaker manager a decision on whether they want to keep him. He went after that 9-0 and went on an unbeaten run, beat us in there. But they're not 1-3 now.
I think there was always... I mean, Bournemouth had after the 9-0, and actually, I felt that after the 9-0, because it was such a horrendous defeat and they were obliterated at Anfield, I actually felt that they'll probably go on quite a decent little run, and they did. And I think Gary O'Neill at the time was compiling a really good audition to get the job permanently. I mean, they came to us, we were 2 up, we were just about the best side. I wouldn't say we deserved to be 2 up, but we just second half they were like a level above us, and they won 3-2. All I would say about this result is a lot of the Forest fans are going, yeah, see how you like it. You were 2 up and you got beat 3-0. I mean, the other thing about Bournemouth was Kiefer Moore. Now, Kiefer Moore is a Forest bogeyman. He's been a bogeyman for, against us for Cardiff, and he did it. Obviously, he put Bournemouth up last year when they beat us in that big game at the Vitality late on. But I think if I were Bournemouth, I'd give Gary O'Neill the job. He conducts himself well. He speaks well. And I think he's a very credible candidate for that job. Yeah. As for Tottenham, I mean, it's almost like Tottenham aren't. They kind of want their cake and eat it. To Tottenham supporters do. Like back in the past or prior to Conte, Tottenham were playing lovely, lovely football, but were wide open at the back. Now they've gone the other way. Roy Keane would always regard Tottenham as like just soft. Every time he heard the name Tottenham Hotspur, Roy Keane just says Tottenham are soft. They're not soft anymore. And I mean, I saw it when they came to us. I mean, we played well against them, actually, even though we lost 2-0. But what they do, they soak it up, they sponge it up, and then he hit on the break with Kulusevski when he's fit. Harry, obviously. Heung-min Son played against us, but he didn't have a great game. That was when he was kind of going through his little fallow period. So Tottenham, I think Tottenham is still struggling for an identity. I think a lot of the supporters want to go back to the stuff they were playing before Conte, but in a way, Conte, maybe if they'd had a previous manager at 2-0 down at the Vitality, and they'd had somebody other than Conte, they might not have got anything out of that game.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, James, there's talk that Conte might be moving to Juve at the end of the season. I mean, I know he's got his contract's up, but Spurs have got the option of a year. They're not going to let him go, are they? This is the best chance they've got of actually winning something.
Well, they had Jose Mourinho before, but he didn't last long there. So I found it when he got the job, I was very shocked because I'm thinking him and Daniel Levy, that's not a very good combo, is it? So it wouldn't surprise me if he went to Juve, if Juve do decide to get rid of Allegri. So it's a strange one.
Yeah, it is. Dave, Brentford, one job for us both, and they couldn't do it.
Well,
it's not. I mean, it's a 1-1. It wasn't the most exciting of games.
No, I know what you mean, Chris. To be honest, there was another team who I wanted to do more of a job for us. We'll come on to them. This game, I mean, Wolves are a strange bunch because they played a lot of nice approach football. Wolves do, but they have got no sting. They've got no cutting edge. I mean, okay, Ruben scored a really good goal, but and then the guy they bring to score the goals for him decides he wants to have a dust up with Ben Mee. I mean, it's ridiculous. If I was Steve Davis and I was the people running Wolves at the moment, I would be furious with him. He would be in my office. Do not let my team and my club down by doing that kind of thing.
Well, I said before the game, James, that they hadn't bought the old Conte. Well, maybe they have because
Chris, the thing is, how dense must an individual be to think that he can get away with that in a Premier League ground on a Premier League pitch? How many cameras are trained at? How many pairs of eyes are watching? I mean, he's a silly boy. I mean, to be fair, against us a couple of weeks ago, I thought he had a decent game. I mean, he put himself about a bit, but I mean, Wolves are back to square one with him now. So I'd be if I was a Wolves supporter, and I know lots of good Wolves supporters, I'd be very, very disappointed with him. Yeah. Brentford, I mean, I really like Brentford. I think Brentford are a really well-run club. I like Thomas Frank. I mean, I like Thomas Frank. I mean, the week before, right, Thomas Frank put Klopp to shame. I thought Klopp disrespected Forest a little bit. He said, it was us against ourselves out there. Oh, so Liverpool lost and Forest didn't win and Forest had nothing to do with it. How disrespectful. Thomas Frank came out at Villa Park. I mean, lost 4-0. And the first thing he said was, I'd like to say well done to Aston Villa. Congratulations to them. They deserved it, right? Yeah. And I think Brentford, we've got them this Saturday. Now, they're coming to us this Saturday. And the big thing about them coming to us this Saturday is that Ivan Toney is now suspended after picking up 5 yellow cards. Now, I still think they'll be really good. They've got Mbuemo. They've got they've got a good bunch of lads there. They're one of my favourites, actually, Brentford. Yeah, I just think they're well run and well organised and recruit brilliantly.
I want to say hi to Melina. Come all the way over from Canada to North London to see her team. Sorry, Dave, but she's an Arsenal fan.
Yeah, but look, Chris, look at me. I'm a Forest fan. I am not an oil painting. And look at that pretty lady down there supporting the Arsenal. Maybe that's why the Arsenal are better than us.
Well, yes, maybe she was sat near the right goal, but all the goals were going in at her end. I don't know. Mel, I'm sure you had a great time. We'll come on to that game in a bit. I'm not sure I know. So, but no, I hope you're having a good holiday. And that couldn't have been better for you, could it? James, Sports Scat here. Disgraceful performance for Chelsea. I was so angry by that performance. I mean, I think it was the first loss for Harry Potter. It was always on the cards, this, wasn't it? It kind of was written in the stars.
Oh, yeah, never in doubt, was it? No, he wasn't going to keep his unbeaten run for long, but I didn't expect 4-1. I mean, that was just out of the blue. But Brighton, I said it a couple of weeks back. Ever since they've had this new manager, they've been playing the same as what they were under Potter, but not taking their chances. Well, on Saturday, apart from 2 own goals, they actually took the chances where it mattered, and they outplayed, outfought, outbattled Chelsea. Chelsea at the minute, there's certain. I mean, they've got to give. Obviously, Potter needs time, obviously, but there's certain players there I just wouldn't have it. I just won't keep hold of, i.e., Aubameyang and a few others. I think Chelsea in January might need to go again a little bit.
And I think, I mean, Sportscat, you can't say that Chelsea have got a problem in front of goal. They just don't know which goal they should be, not having problems in front of, in fairness. Palace 1, Southampton 0. Again, that could have gone either way. But Dave, I mean, Newcastle United, they're in the top 4. They are playing. I love Newcastle. I love the manager. You can argue where the money's come from, but hey, who cares? And if I was a Newcastle fan, I wouldn't give 2 hoots. We've all got investment from abroad. We just don't know where all that money. Let's face it, Chelsea had probably one of the worst ones in Abramovich, but they're there on merit, and they put. Aston Villa had a good win last week, but back to normality. Emery wasn't there, of course. He takes over this weekend, but well done, Newcastle.
Yeah, do you know what, Chris? Our first game back in the Premier League after 23 years was at St James's Park, and we got beat. We were deservedly beaten. Newcastle played some fabulous football that day, and the whole, the way we were as Forest supporters, we were treated. It was okay, we lost the game, but it was a fabulous footballing experience to go to St James's Park. It was something I'll never forget for the rest of my life, And as I came out, we obviously looked at our lads and thought, well, that was it's a learning curve, and they gave us a bit of a lesson. I mean, Guimaraes was absolutely sublime that day. He's a wonderful footballer. Now, I came out and looked, having watched Newcastle that day, and I saw like Trippier, Joe Linton, Joe Willock, Callum Wilson, who I think is a wonderful striker. They've got Botman has come in and done really, really well. Nick Pope's been a decent signing. Not great with his kicking, but he's a good keeper, Nick Pope. And I looked at Newcastle, and I would have been disappointed if Newcastle had then, sort of having beaten us and played so well, had then been a bit of an emperor's new clothes, if you like. But I think Newcastle are the ones, to me. I think that they're a great watch. I mean, Almiron is just, the little fella's on fire. He looks like he's having fun at last. Joe Linton has been changed from a pretty average centre forward to a very, very good central midfielder. Guimaraes is, if he's not in the Brazilian team for the World Cup, then, Tite must have a hell of a lot of really good midfielders. And then you've got, they've got some Maximan to come back in. I mean, he's great to watch because he's a bit of a maverick. What I love about Newcastle is they've got an incredibly intelligent, incredibly socially skilled manager who knows how to communicate with his players. He is class, Eddie Howe. He gives nothing to anybody. What I talked about before, Eddie Howe equips Newcastle with a sort of a suit of armour where they can just get on with their game. They don't wind anybody up. All of that. I mean, I've got a very great friend who's a Newcastle fan, and we talk regularly, and he just writes every week, God, I love football, because Newcastle are giving him now what he's dreamed of for so many years of like Mike Ashley-ness, and God, it's awful. And they were a standing joke for so long, giant stadium, giant support, tiny team that were going to do nothing. I think Newcastle are the one team that will break into the top 6 monopoly. I really do. I think, what they will do. I mean, what you have to remember about Newcastle, lads, is that they haven't yet really unfurled the full extent of their financial might. Now, when they do, we might be coming back here, the three of us in 10 years, and Newcastle United might be, on a par, maybe have gone beyond Manchester City.
Can I just say, I'd love to still be here in 10 years. I think old age may catch me up. You may have to talk to me through a medium, but...
But, just to sum up Newcastle, I think they're playing wonderful football. They're really, really well coached. They're a happy, harmonious bunch. Everything at Newcastle, after far too long, has come together, and there just seems to be all the pieces at Newcastle look to be fitting at the moment.
Yeah. A lot of people saying in the chat, will Newcastle qualify for the Champions League? I don't see why not, and I'd love them to. I'd love them to. It does mean, as Sportcat said, well, if they do, one of the so-called big 6 won't. Oh dear. Let me wipe my tears away. That'd be a shame, Next match, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to come on to this one, Jay. Fulham 0, Everton 0. I mean, I know it was at Fulham. You were the away side, but Fulham had, and this would annoy me. I mean, I know, like I say, we didn't have many shots against City. They had 15, but Fulham had 24 shots against itself. Only 6 of those on target. So 25%. Mitrovic was obviously having a day off. You had 9 shots, 4 on target, so almost 50% there. Was it a case of 2 teams cancelling each other out?
Pretty much so, yeah. I mean, neither side looked like scored, and to be honest, I mean, Jordan Pickford had to make a couple of decent saves during that game, and in the first half, we could have actually gone 1-0 up. Calvert-Lewin missed a real golden opportunity, but apart from that, I think 0-0 was the right result. And to be honest, a point and a clean sheet, but away from home, I take it. I know some Everton fans are not particularly happy because we didn't attack more in the second half, but there's not enough creativity. I mean, apart from Iwobi, we haven't got much creativity, especially on the wings, because Gray and Gordon are too inconsistent at the minute. But defensively, we're getting it right. Connor Cody and James Tarkowski have been 2 absolute stalwarts at the back. Dad says.
James, can I just come in? I'm so glad you mentioned Cody and Tarkowski. I think they are. Do you know what, mate? Why not have them as the back 2 for England in Qatar? Because I'll tell you what, Connor gives it that, and I really like him. I do. I thought as soon as Everton got him, I couldn't believe Wolves let him go, but he obviously fallen out with Bruno Lage, and then he played for you against us in what was not a bad game, but I just thought Connor Cody was as good a signing as anybody's made, and I think his influence has helped Everton to just gradually, incrementally get better. And Tarkowski, I tell you, I don't know if you saw Soccer AM on Saturday. Tarkowski was on, and he's a cracking good lad. I tell you, he's a really good character. So I think those 2 are brilliant. Absolutely.
I'm jealous because I wanted Tarkowski at Leicester, but I mean Cody. I mean, I don't know what Wolves were thinking of letting him go.
I don't know either.
James, what a player you've got!
Yeah, I can't moan. I mean, them 2, as my dad says, the proper throwbacks of centre halves, which we haven't had in a long time. So, no, them 2 have been excellent so far.
I've got to ask you about one player, James. Terry's just brought it up. Damari Gray. I mean, when he was at Leicester, he had so much potential, and I'll always love him. I mean, he scored the goal, against Cardiff after our chairman passed in the first game, and yeah, he'll always be remembered for that. But he always had so much potential, and you'd put him on as a substitute, and he'd run rings around the opposition. So he'd start in the next game, and he'd disappear. I don't know how's he doing at Everton.
He's hit and miss. I say he's a bit similar to you remember Nathan Redmond, who obviously played for Southampton and Norwich. He's like one of them. He can have he's got the ability. He just hasn't got the consistency. What annoys me about him at times, he tends to just cut back in it tends to try and cut back in rather than take the man on. If he's got the ability, I'm not saying he can take 3 or 4 players on, but when he gets the chance to take the man on and try and get the balls into the box, he doesn't do it enough. And he chips him with the occasional goal now and then, but he's an hit-and-miss player. I mean, I do like him because there is a player in there, but he can be frustrating.
Well, James, I go back to that day when we played you back in August, and Jordan's hit the ball, basically over the back of the Forest defence. Damari Gray stayed onside by sort of making a run round Nico Williams and then got ahead of Joe Worrell. And as Jordan's hit the ball sort of, I don't know, 60, 70 yards, Damari Gray's first touch killed it stone dead before he put it in the back of the net. And I thought, if he can, the idea for Frank surely has to be to get Damari Gray to do much more of that. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's getting a tune out of him. And even Gordon as well. I mean, Gordon's only a young kid, but it's just trying to get the tune out of them 2 players. So,
yeah.
Overall, we're doing okay. Still a bit of work to do, but overall, it's all right.
Yes. Yeah. Now, Dave, I sat, yeah, I sat through this on Doug's channel, having sat through the previous week, watching Nottingham Forest do a job on Liverpool, and you did an excellent job on them.
We did.
You know,
We did.
Okay, you know, some would call it parking the bus or whatever, but you defended in numbers. And at one point, I mean, Salah was in your box. I think there was 5 or 6 red shirts and him. You know, he just, you know, the ball was never going to get to him. Then you just hit them on the break. What we tried to do against Man City, but I think Leeds must have watched that game because they pretty much, you know. Now I said to Doug, I called him, you know, one job Doug. He's now 2 job Doug. Because he's that. I can't believe if that was any other club apart from Liverpool, people would be shouting. Well, maybe people are shouting for Klop's. I don't know, but my God, you know what is happening at Liverpool?
I think what's happened at Liverpool, based on what I saw at the City Ground last week, when your best player on the field is a 36-year-old right back, and James Milner had a really good game for Liverpool. It doesn't say a lot about the rest. I thought that Liverpool, whether they meant it or not, gave off an aura of complacency. It does. Well, it's only Nottingham Forest. You know, we've only got to turn up and it'll happen. And after about 10 minutes, I mean, I personally turned up thinking that we would get a bit of a larrapin, right? And I think a lot of Forest supporters were saying, "Now we'll beat these, or we'll nick a 1-0 win or whatever." But I think they were being, you know, sort of a bit jingoistic, if you like. But Liverpool were a distinct disappointment. I was like, the supporters at the far end of the Bridgeford end of the City Ground made not one noise the whole game. They didn't help their team, who were having an off day. And I thought Liverpool were, I mean, Mo Salah, that we saw the buses leave the City Ground after the game, and we reckon they drove around Nottingham for 4 or 5 hours trying to find Mo Salah because he'd gone missing. Bobby Firmino had a good 10 minutes. He had a header just past the post and then utterly disappeared. Virgil van Dijk, I don't think, has got over his tangle with Jordan Pickford, and it isn't the player that he was. And I couldn't, you know, I thought the best player for Liverpool after James Milner, Alisson Becker made a fantastic save from Ryan Yates late on. So, you know, this idea that people were saying that Forest completely parked the bus is not true. Brennan Johnson hit the post. Jesse Lingard had a shot. Taiwo Awoniyi was a nightmare, I thought, for Virgil van Dijk and Joe Gomez at the back. And Liverpool just gave off this, we're Liverpool, it'll just happen. And then Klopp annoyed a lot of people with his comments afterwards, where he didn't even mention Forest. You know, it was us again. We played ourselves and we beat ourselves. And so I watched this game on.
Welcome to not being a big club in the Premier League, mate.
Yeah.
We've had that for 5 years, you know. Yeah,
of the supposed big six, I think Liverpool have got more issues psychologically than any of the others. I think Ten Hag has put United on a more even keel. Conte's made Tottenham more rugged. You know, Chelsea's still got some good players, whatever you think, and Potter's a good manager. But Liverpool and Klopp, I mean, and actually, I really enjoyed what Leeds did to them the other night. I wanted Liverpool to win to keep Leeds close to us, like you probably did, Chris.
Yes, exactly.
But I took a lot of pleasure in seeing Leeds United do at Anfield what we'd done the previous week, where, you know, it's only Leeds United. And Leeds United, bless them, played their hearts out for their manager. And I thought Leeds were good value. Leeds, it was like, you know, who wants this more? And Liverpool went, well, we have a divine right to it. Just hand it to us on a silver platter. Leeds United went, bugger you lot, we're taking it away from you. Leeds were like a bunch of street urchins, you know, picking pockets. And I thought Leeds
talk more about the demise of Liverpool, spoken like a true Man United fan. The true red Nottingham Forest fan. Leeds saw some of that Liverpool midfield play was too slow and rightly took advantage. I mean, they were given a starting, you know, after a few minutes.
I think, Chris, the point you made earlier, mate, I honestly reckon Jesse Marsh and the Leeds lads sat and watched the whole 90 minutes of the Forest game, because anybody at Leeds United must surely have thought, blimey, if newly promoted, callow, inexperienced Nottingham Forest can do that to Liverpool, Why can't we?
Yeah. I mean, James, 2 points behind from the blue half of Liverpool. You must be enjoying it at the moment. Let's be honest.
Not gonna lie, enjoyable for once. Even though I know we're still not great ourselves, but no, I just can't believe what's happening there. To be honest, I did not. I mean, Saturday I watched the game. I mean, I know you and Doug were doing the stream together and watching the match, but I just couldn't believe what I was watching. If I've heard a stat saying that Leeds ran 11 kilometres more than Liverpool entirely in the match, which is unheard of. It just brings back to the point. Liverpool, you look at obviously they've still got good players, but they should have. I mean, we don't know what's going on there, but they should have strengthened in the summer. You can tell the lack of depth, and what summed it up was he takes off Alexander-Arnold, which fair enough because he's not doing much, but he brings on a player like James Milner where they're trying to chase the game. I mean, it's just
get that.
options you've got on the bench.
Yeah. Yes.
And Klopp, I mean, I know injuries haven't helped, but the excuses, I mean,
that's bang on, mate.
Me.
Yeah, I think he at the moment, I mean, to get a red card when you're beating the champions, the best team on earth. I mean, they were excellent against City. Let's not, let's not beat about the bush. I thought they probably deserved to beat City. But to get a red card when your team is beating the best team in the world, that to me, I looked at him, and as far as the Forest supporters are concerned, we played them in the FA Cup last year, and he came out with a statement where he said, "I don't know where Nottingham is." Well, he found out when he came, right, because we made a lot of noise. Yeah, they beat us in the cup, but we played some good football. And then it was interesting. Jurgen was all over the field. He had his arm around Joe Lolly. He was shaking hands with James Garner. What a wonderful club, Nottingham Forest. It's like a European night. Last week, down the tunnel faster than a frog up a pump, mate, I tell you. And it was just, I know for a fact, pretty much, that Pep Guardiola, had he lost at the City Ground last week, he would have come out, I think, and he would have said, you know what, fair play to Forest. I go back to Thomas Frank.
He was all over the pitch after our game, congratulating, or commiserating with the Leicester players. But James, I mean, Mike said there, we have seen the demise of Man United. Sorry, Mike. And the fact that you go to Old Trafford is not the fortress that it was. But James, nor is Anfield at the moment. Teams are going to be looking at that. They looked at Forest last week and thought, yep, they're beatable. Now we're looking at it and thinking, they're actually beatable at Anfield. Teams aren't going to be scared of going there anymore.
No, there's a bit of a fear factor that's just slowly declining. I mean, what summed it up was, Leeds were aggressive and up front and in the midfield, but what summed it up in the match, the Leeds fans were more louder than at Anfield. It was silent. It was like, and I'm not, I know we're downplaying our fans, but you look at Goodison, half the time it's silent and you don't hear the away fans until Everton go 1-0 up and then we'll start singing. That's what happened. Once Liverpool got the equaliser, the fans started going, and then once the game panned out, it went back to being quiet. And Leeds, you can only hear the Leeds fans. So it's not right there. And obviously, I love it to carry on the way it is, but
Mike says there, Old Trafford is a fortress this season, and Eric Ten Hag has brought that back. Whether you're winning, I just don't think teams are scared to go to Old Trafford. I don't think, oh God, we've got Man United at Old Trafford next week. That doesn't, it just isn't there. That fear factor that you had under Fergie isn't there, and it is going with Liverpool. I know you've got to go, Dave, so if you need to pop off, because I know you're on Mr. Dawes' channel.
I'm enjoying it. I'm going to stay another 10 minutes, mate.
That is fine. If you
I'm enjoying it. It's nice to see you two lads.
I saw your face when I put that up. Now, I have to be... I've got to be honest with you.
I'm going to take my glasses off so I can't see it.
It is a bit fuzzy, in fairness. I didn't see it. I wish I had, but I didn't see it. I
think one of the lucky things, lads, was that it wasn't on Sky Sports. So you have to go to a dodgy stream to watch it. And even if you'd have watched it, it would have been a dodgy stream. But
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, the scoreline tells you everything you need to know. The golfing class between Arsenal and Forest was 5-0. I mean, I was on Door's vlog before the game, and he asked me, and I said, no, we won't win here. They're quicker than us. They're sharper than us. I actually think Arsenal are a revelation from what they were last season and the season before. And I think, the Arsenal board did a really good job in keeping Mikel Arteta. He's intelligent. He's smart. He's modern. He's been with Pep, so he knows the game. And I really like Mikel Arteta. I watched the documentary about Arsenal. He came across as a really good guy, and they came across as a good bunch of lads. And yesterday they were like yards quicker than Forest in transitions. I mean, every time a Forest guy got into their half, there were like 4 or 5 Arsenal players around him. And similarly, when they were going forward, they seemed to have an option. It was almost like every one of the 10 outfield players, obviously Aaron Ramsdale in goal, but the 10 outfield players for Arsenal seemed to come with a built-in 20 yards of space around them. They had all the time in the world. I think Forest were in the game till half-time. It was 1-0 at half-time. And Forest went through a sort of a 20-minute period before half-time where they just kind of got on Arsenal's tits a bit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And where Arsenal wanted to put them away and knew they could put them away, but it didn't happen. A bit similar to when we got a point at Brighton the other week, where Brighton, another cracking good team, were all over us and we held out for a 0-0. But what happened yesterday that kind of completely killed everything was Reece Nelson scored, I think, in the first minute of the second half. And then he added another one within a couple of minutes and it was game over. Now Steve came on afterwards and quite rightly said Forest lacked a competitive edge in the second half, and we would all agree with that. But it was almost like you could, and I'll probably get pelters for this. I could almost forgive Forest for saying, well, whatever we do here is just going to go wrong. You know what I mean? And I just felt as well that we were going to get a bit of a Lord after the Lord Mayor show. We had the incredible high of beating Liverpool and deservedly beating Liverpool. And such are the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, to quote the bard, that, a bad day was going to follow a good day. And yesterday, I mean, I'm not going to come on here and talk, I mean, if I was to come on here and say Forest didn't do this, Forest didn't do that, there were lots of things Forest didn't do, but I'm not going to get all Klopp and say it was all about what Forest didn't do. I'm going to come on here and say Arsenal played terrific football. And I think that Arsenal are the only team who could get a breath on the tails of Manchester City in the title race. I think City will probably just have a bit too much for them. But I think Arsenal are, it's the first Arsenal team, and I'm sure you lads agree, that's actually been a pleasure to watch for a long time.
I think Arteta's been given the time, a bit like maybe Cooper's going to be given, possibly Brendan, but he has been given, and even Frank, he's been given the time. He's got the troublemakers out. He's stood there and he's taken everything that's been thrown at him and said, no, this is the way I'm doing it. Back me, or and they backed him. I mean, Anthony here, big Liverpool, so big Arsenal fan, stroke Southampton. You can keep that scoreline up for a little while, but you know what? They will still. I can imagine there's still a few Arsenal fans there, James, going, yeah, but Arteta should have done this, and I wasn't happy with his gameplay. You just know that, don't you, James? That there's going to be Arsenal fans that are just still got something to moan about.
No, I know. I get on with a fair few of them, and they're still not convinced at the minute. So, no, they're doing well. Arsenal are doing well, and you have to, like you say, Arteta's been given enough time, and I'm not just saying it because he's an ex-Everton player, but I'm over the moon for him that he's doing well there.
Yes. Chris, can I just come in? Mike Green's comment there actually is probably spot on. It's just, you feel with Arsenal that they've got a really good 11, 12, 13, 14. And then beyond that, then they're not going to have quite what City have got. Do you know what I mean? And I think Mike Green's point that you've just put up there is a really good one. So I would agree with that. I mean, if you want a symbol for Arsenal and how far they've come, then look at Granit Xhaka. Now, 3 years ago, he was public enemy number one. They all wanted him hung, drawn and quartered. He went off yesterday with about, I think, 15 minutes to go. And he got a standing ovation. I mean, if ever a man's been sort of, rehabilitated in any football club, it's Granit Xhaka. And he had a good game. You know, so
he did. But it's good to see, James, that there's another team up there that are giving City a run for the money.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I got a sneaky feeling. I mean, you know, watch Man City without Haaland, and no club is ever a one-player team, but, you know, they should have put us to the sword more than they did. I mean, Arsenal certainly did that when we played them. I don't know. I mean, you look at Leicester, when we won the Premier League, we had hardly any injuries. So not having a huge squad didn't actually affect us that much. In fact, it worked the other way because the players were always together, knew what they were doing because they weren't getting injuries. I think Arsenal will actually do better than Mike's saying, James.
I mean, not impossible. I mean, second or third, I think it's probably their best chance. But I think they're definitely nailed on for the Champions League place the way they're going. But no, you just never know. You just never know. They just got to keep taking each game as it comes and see where they can go. But if I'm Arteta and the players, I'll be saying, after Christmas, I'll be saying, why can't we aim for that? I'll be saying, at the minute, just take each game as it comes, obviously, but that's so far, Dave said it, for the once since towards, I think, minimum probably 2007, 2008, something like that. It's an absolute pleasure to watch them from looking towards the latter years of Arsene Wenger and then Unai Emery and the early stages of Arsene Wenger. Football was stale. Now you're seeing an Arsenal side with a lot more chemistry in that team and a lot more not like Dave said, not as many. Mike's comment there. City have got a massive strength and depth, which Arsenal haven't. And if Arsenal can get in the Champions League, they can definitely attract a few players.
It's okay saying, well, they've got these world class players, whatever you want.
They've still got to knit together.
Yeah, and they've still got to. I mean, tell me where those world class players were on Saturday. Because I didn't see any of them apart from De Bruyne one free kick. You know, we put Manchester City to the point of they were arguing with every little thing. De Bruyne was he wanted his mummy to come and wipe his arse. He was moaning that much. Like I said earlier, Jack Grealish. I mean, I think he thought grass meant something else. He was on his knees so much, smelling the bloody stuff. You know, so world-class players playing like Rochdale, Newport players. No disrespect, Mike. So you've got the players. It's what you do with them. But I want to see Arsenal do well because I'm kind of fed up with Manchester City keep winning everything.
Yeah.
And if Arsenal can keep this up, then they might actually, come and give us some money for Tielemans in January. Please don't let him go on a free. Talking about teams that world-class players that don't play like the world-class, Ronaldo. I mean, he couldn't have scored in a brothel yesterday, could he? I mean, all right, they scraped a 1-0 win, and I don't care whether you had 40 shots to their 5. It was if you win a game 1-0, it's a scrape. I'm impressed with Man United, having said that, because I think they're going through such a rebuild. I didn't expect them to do this well this early, if you like, and that's credit maybe to Eric Ten Hag. I expect them more to be around where Liverpool are, if I'm totally honest. So maybe they are kicking above the boots. I think Ronaldo is causing a lot of shit in that camp, and I think get rid of him. Just
absolutely,
drop him, because all you're doing, Eric, is saying, "Oh yeah, he's a naughty boy. Slap his hand, give him a fine, but I'll get him back in the team." Well. Like I say, what did he bring to you yesterday?
I mean, the great debate of our age is Messi or Ronaldo. I'm with the little man every time. I think the little man is a way better. I'm probably being silly, but he's more likable. I mean, they beat Tottenham, was it a week, 10 days ago, and they were excellent. And those lads on the field who ran their nuts off for Eric Ten Hag deserved all the glory. But it was taken away from him by a huge ego wandering down the touchline early, making sure that everybody looked at him. I find him objectionable. If he was a Forest player, And he did that to Steve, and he did it to our lads, who we are the weakest team in the division, right? The table says that. But our lads are really trying hard. They're not the best. They're learning unbelievably difficult lessons in the hardest league in the world, Nottingham Forest are. But they're all on the same page, and they're good lads, and they're all working for the manager. And if Ronaldo was a Forest player and did that, I'd be walking out the Trent End and I'd be sending Steve Cooper a message saying, get him out of my club, because he thinks that we are all here to serve him. No man is bigger than any club, however much he thinks he is. And I think he's, I mean, I watched him at Brentford when they got beat 4-0, which was like their watershed moment. They were appalling. And it's like, he was as mobile as the wardrobe I've got in my back bedroom, right? and I felt sorry. The other United lads that day, they all had poor games, but they were also having to kind of like, I tell you what, I used to look at their team and I'd see Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, some of the younger guys in that team. Like, are they allowed to bollock Ronaldo if he balls his up? Where's the democracy in that? He'll have a go at them and like throw his arms in the air like a prima donna. I mean, I think Eric Ten Hag is doing a good job with Manchester United. It's going to take time. It was poor last year. I think that there's a lot of talent at Manchester United. I think Casemiro is an excellent signing. I think he's going to be a good influence for them. He'll be like Thiago Silva is. I know he's knocking on. Thiago Silva at Chelsea is still a very good player and crucial to their team. I think Casemiro could do the same thing for United. And I think Eric Ten Hag, I like Eric Ten Hag. I think there's no messing about with Eric. Poor old Ralph Rangnick was far too intelligent to manage Manchester United. He's a professor. They were never going to understand him. And somebody like Ronaldo was always going to undermine him because, he got no respect. Similarly with Solskjaer. But Eric Ten Hag is not for being moved by Ronaldo, I mean, if I was the manager of Manchester United, I'd publicly say, I'm sorry, Cristiano, but you do not play for me again. I'm going to go with these lot over here who are all working hard for our club. And, I mean, the story is that after the Brentford game, Eric made them go on an 8-mile run, but he joined in. He said, I'm as much to blame as you are. And I think from that moment, United, they're not great. They've got a lot to do yet, but they're better than they were.
Yeah. Can I just say, Terry, you're quite right. It's refreshing to find a Forest fan like that. And I had to get one eventually, didn't we?
It was a process of elimination, Terry.
Yeah, I'd gone through about 10 and I thought, I'm running out of fans here. Joking. James, I mean, I had that game on. I can't say that it kept me glued to the TV. All I saw in Ronaldo was a player that was there for, I want the goal. I want to claim a goal. I don't want to, pass it to one of my colleagues, my teammates. All right, you could argue maybe there wasn't anybody to pass him to, but all I could see was him trying to do it all on his own. And I don't think it's because, he had any great belief in maybe wanting Man United to win. It was for himself. It was for his glory.
Yeah, as we say, he's got such a huge ego. It's unbelievable. I mean, we know he's a wonderful player. Everything he's won, but his attitude. I mean, like Dave said, happens at any club, he'd be out the door straight away. Yeah, I don't. I'll be saying to if he was at Everton, I'll be saying the exact same thing. Don't care who you are. I'm not having him at the club. No chance. No. But yeah, United. But the thing was, they made a mistake bringing him back. What was he going to achieve when he was coming back?
James, mate, I reckon what happened that day, he went to the Etihad with his agent, and Pep went, "Sorry, mate, you passed it. You don't fit in with us." And I reckon they came out of the Etihad, him and his agent stood in the car park, and they looked at each other, stroked chins, and Ronaldo went to him, "You know what, mate? Why don't we try that lot over there? They might give me a job." And it literally was like that. And I think as soon as he arrived there was an article that I read by Jonathan Wilson, who's a very, very knowledgeable football writer. And Jonathan Wilson said, United will pay the price for this because they're going to have to change everything to suit one individual. And teams don't function like that. Yeah. And I think United are better. Marcus Rashford's nose was put out of joint. Jadon Sancho's nose was put out of joint. Anthony Martial's. He is the sort of guy who's in a band, who's the front man of a band, but he should have a solo career and leave the band, I think.
Oh yeah, I mean, look, it was funny when he signed. Who had the number 7? Edison Cavani, and he changed his kit number during that time, and Ronaldo got his number 7 shirt.
Yeah.
They only brought him back because of selling shirts.
Exactly.
And I think there's a little bit as well as they didn't want Man City to have him.
Oh no, I don't think he'd suit City at all. I'm not being funny. I don't think he'd suit them.
No,
and,
he didn't. But I don't think Man United could stand the thought of him playing in blue.
No, of course.
And maybe winning something, because let's face it, City are the bigger of the two teams at the moment.
Well, just to be very quick on it, but when the rumours were it looked like he was going to City, Man United fans were kicking off, and then once we heard the news saying, he's turned them down, and it looks like he's going to Man United, everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. It's like, oh my God, he's coming back, he's coming home. It's just,
and I think he would be. I think it would be different if Man United were where, say, Tottenham are now.
Yeah.
I think, as soon as a team's not doing well, he wants to jump ship. Before I take it down, just going to look at it for one last minute there and say Arsenal 5, Forest 0. Let's have the dancing girls on. There we go. Let's enjoy.
Chris, James, do you know what? A lot of ours said at the start of the season, and I'm kind of holding them to it. We're back in the Premier League after 23 years. There are going to be some heavy defeats. There's some very, very good teams, very, very good teams in this league, and we're going to enjoy it for what it is. And I'm doing that. I'm 58, so I should have a philosophical mind about these things. And I remember I was coming home in the car last night. We were on the M1 coming back, and my old man rang me up, and he said, "Have you had a good day?" Right? And I went, "You know what? Yeah, I have. I've been to a fantastic, the Emirates is a fantastic stadium. I went with some amazing people. The Forest fans were fabulous again. They sang, 5-0 down, 5-0 up, and you still don't sing. 5-0 up, and you still don't sing. Championship Europe, you'll never sing that, which I'm sorry, James, we fired at you earlier in the season.
Yeah, I know.
So I had a great day out. I'm loving going to, Premier League grounds and just following the thing. We may end up back in the Championship. It's a distinct possibility. We may not. And the beauty is not knowing. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, and what I won't do is I won't do a Klopp and come on and be all like, no. I will not do sore loser.
When we came up, the 5-6 years ago,
yeah,
it looked like we were going to go straight back down.
Yeah.
I had a season ticket, but you know what? It was great watching Aguero play against us. It was great watching some of these players. And yes, I'm not saying you're getting battered every week. We weren't getting battered every week. We were 1-0s, 2-1, 3-2s. But we were losing. We were at the bottom longer than any other team that managed to steal. I think it was just enjoying it for the fact that these players that we'd only ever seen on the box, and we were actually I got to see Esteban Cambiasso in a shirt on a football pitch scoring a goal. Sorry, Mike, against Manchester United. I mean, those moments, and I know my son will look at me and he'll go like, before that game, he was like Esteban who? Go and Google him, But look at there's the bottom half. Can I just talk about us a minute, Chris? Can
I just say, mate? I mean, with us, tables don't lie. That to me, I think at the moment is a pretty fair reflection of where everybody is. Right? There's a team not on that section of the table, and we're only 7 points behind Liverpool. Right? Daft as it seems. Now, if you take yesterday away, which I kind of felt I thought we'd get beat. I didn't think we'd get beat that heavily. But if you go to the 4 games before that, we are 1 missed penalty at Molineux away from being 4 unbeaten. And what Steve did brilliantly, I think, after Leicester, which was a shambles, and Leicester deserved that game, he made us hard to beat. So we got a draw against the Villa, and we were boring. We got then we got nothing at Wolves, but could have got something. Somehow managed to get a draw at Brighton, which I think actually that point might be brilliant the more the season goes on. and then we beat Liverpool. So I think there are shoots of something for Forest to like work with there. Now, you mentioned Leicester City, Chris, and I look at some of those teams there, like Leeds, Villa, Leicester, Brighton, Brentford, Wolves, who've all come up, and what they've done. If I was Forest, I'd be looking and think, well, what did they do to stay up? I mean, all we want to do is skin of our teeth, clinging onto the window ledge at 17th on goal difference. Villa stayed up on the last day by getting a draw at West Ham. Nigel Pearson kept Leicester up when it looked like they were doomed. Leeds somehow stayed up last year, having taken some right thumpings. So there are precedents for us.
You want to finish 17th with one goal better goal difference than the team below you.
Exactly, mate.
That's all you need. But it's true, James. I mean, Liverpool are actually closer to the relegation zone than they are to the top four. And that is, it's awful for a team like Liverpool. But, I mean, all three of us are on this half of the table. But the thing is, I mean, we lost to Man City. A couple of results didn't go our way that would have been nice to keep everybody down there. But, one win, I mean, you win one, Dave, you're out the bottom three if results go. We were up to 14th, 15th at one point when it was, there's so...
Like Leeds. I tell you what is interesting, and I'm looking at James. Who's got the best goal difference in the bottom half, James? Connor Cody and James Tarkowski.
Yeah, and Cody as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, look at that. That's, Everton. I actually think from where Everton were at the start of the season, we looked at Everton as a possible vulnerable team that we could be better than. But I think just on the quiet, I mean, for Everton to be there, I mean, okay, they haven't scored a lot, but they've conceded the least in the bottom half. So if I was Everton supporter like you, mate, I'd be quietly chuffed about that.
5:30 game, Rico, and it's going to be under the floodlights. The thing is, though, James, that again, one bad result for you, and you're drawn back in. It is that close. Nobody can sit there and go, well, and it's that sort of the season, isn't it? Because everybody's beating everybody, and then nobody's safe and nobody's out of it.
No,
it's like the league's like split into several leagues, isn't it? I mean, over the years, it's not. I mean, Man City have obviously been the dominant side, but everyone else is pretty much the same. If you think about it, everyone's just like you say, everyone's beating each other. What 2 wins, you're up there and around the top half, maybe even near a Europa League or Conference League place, and then 2 bad results or something like that, you're near the bottom. So it's just crazy. It's been a very Premier League.
It's even crazier days because we've got a bloody World Cup in the middle of it. So we're going to have to bugger off for 4 weeks and think, what's going to happen? I mean, it's the weirdest thing. I thought we would struggle to get any weirder than the COVID seasons. No. And I think we're going to come very, very close to that, But look, guys, thank you so much for coming on.
Pleasure, Chris.
And let me just get rid of this. Oh, sorry, I meant to get rid of that. Sorry.
Do you know what, James? James, he had me on here a few weeks ago, right, mate? After they'd beaten us 4-0. And the first thing I did, I kind of did like an address to the Leicester City nation. And the first thing I did before he had a chance to do anything, I just said, I want every Leicester City supporter in the universe to know this. From a Nottingham Forest supporter, well played, Leicester City. You deserved your win. I have no complaints. Thank you very much. We move on. And you could see the look on his face was, oh, bollocks, I really wanted to have a go at Dave. Do you know what I mean?
Well, this is why I'm making the most of this, you see. How we do with that. Hey, I use that tactic all the time,
Yeah.
When the Arsenal fans came on after they drubbed us, I went, yeah, you're the better team.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay. Where do I go with this now? But couple more weeks. We're going to have to get together somehow, James. I know you're at the match itself, but
yeah.
Maybe if we can try and do a tactic show or something Sunday morning. If we win, if we lose, no, I won't be talking to you for a while. Obviously, goes without saying. I can't wish you all the best, Dave, as much as I want to. You're a great Forest
I know,
fan.
Chris.
and I hope I didn't predict you to go down. I think I had you 16th. So as long as we're 15th, I don't mind that. So, guys, you got me out of the brown smelly stuff tonight. I really do appreciate it. Good luck I won't say good luck at the weekend because I don't mean that either. And bugger all this, will football be the winner? Fuck off, I want Leicester to win. Thanks very much, guys. Have a great week and stay safe.
No, cheers,
boys. Cheers. Nice to meet you, James.
Yeah, you too, Dave. Take care.
Cheers, mate.
Ta-da.
There we go, the cannon and ball there of YouTube football. I don't know which one is Bobby Ball because he's no longer with us. Read into that what you will. Morecambe and Wise. I was watching a Morecambe and Wise clip. You cannot beat Morecambe and Wise. Now, we're going to be back at 9 o'clock with the radio show stroke podcast. If Dan is watching, I got your message, Dan. Thanks for the kisses, mate. What can I say? I know you mean them. So I will see you at 9 o'clock. I'll put the link in the chats and everywhere and Twitter and Facebook. It's a Halloween special. We're going to be doing what we're doing here, but on the radio. Do mixcloud.com/LTID radio. That is where you can find us. It is just like a podcast, but we've got music. We're having laughing and we're having jokes. It is a good laugh. And now that the Forest fan has gone,
I don't know, it's so difficult not to look smug at this point.
And he's going to do his stupid smug face.
I forgot about that. Find us here at 9.
Start with Chris. Add a dash of sport. Squeeze in some music. Then shake, don't stir. And you've got the ultimate blend. LTID Radio.
Mixcloud.com, all one word, mixcloud.com/LTID radio. Give us a follow. Or go on to our website, all the w's.leicestertillidie.com/radio. The link is on there as well. It's a laugh. Dan's joining me at 9 o'clock. It's going to be fun. I will see you then. Thanks again to two great guys, Dave and James, who really, really got me out of it tonight. Thanks very much, guys. Take care, and I will see you in 35 minutes. Good night.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too or I'll be back.
Leicester Till I Die.